Pull up a chair, grab a glass of water, or better yet, a cup of hibiscus tea, and let's have a real talk. If you're over 60, you've probably been told that high blood pressure is just a part of aging. You've been told that your arteries are like old pipes, and there's nothing you can do but pour some chemical Drano down them in the form of a pill every morning. But I'm here to tell you that's a half-truth. While your body is changing, it isn't broken. Today, I'm breaking down the science of how we actually remodel your cardiovascular system. We're going to talk about why 130 over 80 is the new 120 over 80, the potassium secret that doctors are too busy to explain, and exactly how you can work with your physician to potentially move away from medication. This isn't just a health tip video. This is your manual for the next 30 years of your life. Let's sit down and really peel back the curtain on what's happening inside your chest. We hear the term the silent killer. So often it almost loses its meaning. It sounds like a movie title, doesn't it? But the reason medical professionals use that term is chillingly simple. High blood pressure usually has no symptoms until the damage is already done. You can't feel your arteries stiffening. You can't feel your kidneys straining. You feel fine right up until the moment you don't. That stops today, because knowledge is the first step toward reversal. You deserve to know exactly what those numbers on the cuff mean, not as abstract math, but as the physical reality of your life force. When the nurse wraps that cuff around your arm and it squeezes tight, it's measuring two distinct phases of your heart's life. Let's look at those numbers, 140 over 90. The top number, systolic. This is the active number. Think of it as the punch. Every time your heart muscle contracts, it hurls a bolus of oxygen-rich blood into your aorta. That systolic pressure is the peak force exerted against your arterial walls during that contraction. If that number is high, it means your heart is having to overpunch just to get the blood out of the door. The bottom number, diastolic. This is the resting number. It's the pressure in your arteries when your heart is refilling between beats. Many people ignore this number, but it's vital. If your diastolic pressure is high, it means even when your heart is trying to relax, your pipes are still under immense tension. Imagine trying to rest while someone is constantly pushing against your front door. You can never truly recover. For those of us over 60, we often see a phenomenon called isolated systolic hypertension. This is when your top number is high, but your bottom number is normal or even low. This is the hallmark of the aging cardiovascular system, and it's specifically what we are going to learn to target today. To understand why this happens, I want you to visualize a garden. Imagine you have a high-end, brand-new rubber garden hose. When you turn the water on, the hose is flexible. It expands slightly to accommodate the rush of water, and then it snaps back. This snapback is what keeps the water flowing smoothly to the roses at the end of the line. Now, imagine that same hose has been sitting out in the sun for 20 summers. It's become brittle, it's stiff, it's lost its give. When you turn the water on now, the hose can't expand. The water has to force its way through a rigid tube. To get the same amount of water to the roses, you have to turn the faucet handle tighter and tighter. You are increasing the pressure because the pipe itself won't cooperate. In your body, this stiffness is what we call loss of arterial compliance. As we age, the collagen in our vessel walls becomes cross-linked. It gets crusty, for lack of a better word. The elastin, which makes our vessels bouncy, starts to fray. This is why a 65-year-old's heart often has to work 40% harder than a 25-year-old's heart just to move the exact same gallon of blood. But why does it matter? If you feel fine, why worry about a high reading? Because your body is a closed system, and high pressure creates a slow-motion train wreck across your organs. 1. The kidney connection. Your kidneys are essentially a massive collection of delicate, microscopic filters. They are designed to handle blood at a very specific, gentle pressure. When you blast them with high-pressure blood for years, those delicate filters, the nephrons, begin to scar and die. This is why hypertension is the leading cause of kidney failure. Once those filters are gone, they don't come back. 2. The brain and the microstroke. We all fear a major stroke, but high blood pressure causes silent damage to the brain every single day. it weakens the tiny vessels in your brain's white matter. Over time, this can lead to vascular dementia, memory loss, and confusion that we often mistake for just getting old. It's not just aging, it's pressure. 3. The vision thief. Your eyes have the thinnest, most fragile blood vessels in your entire body. High pressure causes them to leak or burst. If you've noticed your vision getting blurrier, it might not just be your prescription, it might be your pipes. 4. The left ventricular hypertrophy, the overgrown heart. This is the one that worries doctors the most. Your heart is a muscle. Like any muscle, if you give it a heavy weight to lift every day, it gets bigger. But a big heart is a weak heart. The walls of the heart thicken to handle the pressure, but eventually they become so thick they can't pump effectively anymore. This is the road to heart failure. Now, I know this sounds heavy. It sounds like the damage is already done. But here is the part your doctor might not have had time to explain in that 10-minute window. Your arteries are not just pipes. They are living, breathing organs. The inner lining of your blood vessels is a single layer of cells called the endothelium. For a long time, scientists thought this was just saran wrap for your blood. We were wrong. The endothelium is the largest endocrine organ in your body, and its main job is to produce a gas called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a vasodilator. When your body produces $, it sends a signal to the smooth muscle of your arteries to relax. It's like a natural dose of nitroglycerin. It tells that stiff garden hose to soften up and expand. Here is the kicker for my over 60 viewers. As we age, our natural production of nitric oxide drops by about 50% to 75%. This is the invisible gap. Your vessels aren't just stiff because they are old. They are stiff because they are starving for the signal to relax. When we talk about reversing hypertension, what we are really talking about is endothelial rehabilitation. We are going to use specific foods, specific movements, and specific breathing patterns to wake up your endothelium and force it to start pumping out nitric oxide again. You aren't just managing a number, you are literally polishing the inside of your arteries to make them slippery and flexible again. You are teaching your old pipes how to be young again. And the best part? The endothelium is one of the fastest regenerating tissues in the human body. You can start seeing improvements in your compliance in as little as 2 to 4 weeks. So, to recap, the enemy isn't just a number on a screen. The enemy is stiffness and silence. We have the punch, systolic, and the rest, diastolic. We have the stiff hose, arterial compliance. And we have the safety valve, nitric oxide. Now that you know what the silent killer is actually doing, the mystery is gone. And once the mystery is gone, the fear disappears. In the next section, we're going to look at the salt trap. And I'm going to show you why simply putting down the salt shaker is only 10% of the battle. I want you to take a second and think back to your last checkup. Your doctor looked at your chart, saw that your numbers were creeping up into the 140s or 150s, and gave you that look. You know the one. He said, "John, or Mary, we need to watch that salt intake." So, being a responsible person who wants to see their grandkids grow up, you went home and did exactly what you were told. You put the salt shaker in the back of the pantry. You started eating bland, tasteless chicken and steamed broccoli. You suffered through meals that tasted like cardboard for 3 weeks. Then, you went back for a follow-up, the nurse pumped up the cuff, and nothing. The numbers were exactly the same. Or maybe they even went up because you were so stressed out about your failed diet. Why didn't it work? Is your body broken? No. The truth is, the advice to just stop using the shaker is like trying to put out a house fire with a squirt gun. It's well-intentioned, but it misses 90% of the fire. If you are over 60, you grew up in a world where food was mostly, well, food. But today, our grocery stores are filled with food-like products. The salt isn't on your table, it's baked into the DNA of the products you buy. Let's talk about the dirty dozen of the senior pantry. First, let's look at bread. You might not think of bread as salty, but bread is one of the top contributors of sodium in the American diet. Why? Because salt is a preservative and a dough conditioner. 2 slices of healthy whole wheat bread can contain as much sodium as a small bag of potato chips. Then there's the healthy deli meat. You're trying to be good, so you buy the low-fat, oven-roasted turkey breast. But to keep that turkey moist and fresh on the shelf for weeks, it is injected with a high-sodium brine. You are essentially eating a salt sponge disguised as lean protein. And don't get me started on canned vegetables. You see a can of peas or green beans and think, this is a vegetable, it's good for me. But look at the label. To keep those peas looking bright green, and to stop them from turning into mush, they are bathed in a sodium bath. 1 cup of canned soup, even the healthy ones, can contain 800 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That is nearly your entire daily limit in one small bowl. The food industry uses salt for 3 reasons. It's cheap, it makes low-quality ingredients taste good, and it makes you thirsty for the soda or sweetened tea they also want to sell you. You aren't failing your diet. You're being sabotaged by the packaging. To truly reverse hypertension, we have to look smaller. We have to look at your cells. Every single one of the trillions of cells in your body, from your heart muscle to your brain, functions like a tiny, rechargeable battery. And like any battery, it requires a gradient to create energy. This is called the sodium-potassium pump, or the NASCMAR-ATPase pump for the science buffs out there. Inside your cell, your body wants potassium, K-pomodollar. Outside the cell, in the fluid surrounding it, your body wants sodium, naniamadollar. When you have a healthy balance, the pump works perfectly. It pushes sodium out and pulls potassium in. This movement creates the electrical charge that allows your heart to beat and your muscles to move. But here's the problem. In the modern diet, we are drowning in salt and starving for potassium. When you have too much sodium outside the cell, it starts to leak in. To keep the cell from exploding, your body has to pull in water to dilute the salt. Think about that. Excess salt in your system acts like a magnet for water. It pulls fluid out of your tissues and into your bloodstream. Now go back to our garden hose analogy. If you suddenly double the amount of water inside that hose, what happens to the pressure? It skyrockets. Your high blood pressure isn't just about thick blood, it's about too much volume. You are carrying around an extra gallon of water weight inside your arteries, simply because you don't have enough potassium to pump the salt out. This is where the reversal happens. Most people focus on subtracting salt. I want you to focus on adding potassium. Potassium is the antidote to sodium. When you increase your potassium intake, your kidneys receive a signal. It's like a biological green light that says, okay, we have enough potassium now, go ahead and flush that excess sodium out through the urine. Potassium literally relaxes the walls of your blood vessels. Remember that nitric oxide we talked about earlier? Potassium helps the endothelium release more of it. If you are on a diuretic pill, a water pill like hydrochlorothiazide, your doctor is essentially trying to do chemically what potassium does naturally. The problem with the pill is that it often flushes out your potassium along with the salt, leaving you cramped up, tired, and dizzy. By eating potassium-rich, I'm talking about avocados, sweet potatoes, spinach, and beans, you are giving your body the tools to manage its own pressure. You are turning your cellular batteries back on. I want to give you a practical tool you can use this afternoon. Let's compare. The Salty 6, the pressure spikers. 1. Processed poultry. Rotisserie chickens are often injected with salt water. 2. Pizza. The crust, the cheese, and the sauce are a triple threat of sodium. 3. Sandwiches. The combination of bread and deli meat is a blood pressure disaster. 4. Canned soup, even the organic ones. 5. Cheese, especially processed slices. 6. Condiments. Salad dressings and soy sauce are liquid salt. The potassium powerhouses, the pressure droppers. 1. The avocado. It has more potassium than a banana and healthy fats to protect your brain. 2. The white bean. Cannellini beans are a secret weapon for seniors. 3. The beet. Beets contain nitrates that turn into nitric oxide, and they are loaded with potassium. 4. The baked potato. With the skin, don't fear the potato, fear the butter and salt you put on it. A plain baked potato is a heart health superstar. 5. Cooked spinach. When you cook it, you can eat more of it, meaning more potassium per bite. 6. Coconut water. Nature's Gatorade, without the artificial dyes and sugar. If you make this one switch, Moving from a subtract sodium mindset to an add potassium mindset, you will see your morning readings begin to drift downward. Why? Because you aren't fighting your biology anymore. You're fueling it. Here is your goal: the 2.1 ratio. Scientists have found that for optimal blood pressure, you should consume twice as much potassium as sodium. Most Americans eat a 1.4 ratio, 4 times more salt than potassium. No wonder our hearts are struggling. In the next section, we're going to talk about movement as medicine. I'm going to show you how to walk off your hypertension without ever stepping foot in a gym, and why the after-dinner stroll is a medical necessity for anyone over 60. This section is where we transition from the what to the how. For a senior audience, exercise is often associated with pain or exhaustion. We need to reframe it as a mechanical treatment for their arteries. Let's address the elephant in the room. When I say the word exercise, what do you see? Do you see a 25-year-old in spandex lifting heavy weights? Do you see a grueling treadmill session that leaves your knees throbbing and your back aching? If that's what you're picturing, I want you to take that image and throw it out the window. If you're over 60, that kind of high-intensity, no pain, no gain philosophy can actually be counterproductive for your blood pressure. When you push yourself to the point of gasping for air, your body releases adrenaline and cortisol. Those are stress hormones. They tell your blood vessels to tighten up. For a senior with hypertension, a hard workout can actually cause a dangerous spike in pressure during the activity. I don't want you to work out. I want you to mechanically dilate your system. We're going to use movement as a biological key to unlock your arteries. In the world of sports science, we talk about zones. Zone 5 is a sprint. You're gasping. Zone 1 is a slow stroll to the mailbox. But Zone 2 is the sweet spot for longevity. Zone 2 is a level of effort where your heart rate is elevated, but you can still carry on a full conversation. If you're walking with a friend and you're slightly breathless but can still tell them about your weekend without pausing for air, you are in Zone 2. Why does this matter for your blood pressure? Because at this specific intensity, your heart is pumping a large volume of blood with every beat, but it isn't slamming against the walls of your arteries. It's like a steady, powerful river rather than a flash flood. This steady flow creates something called shear stress. Now, stress usually sounds bad, but shear stress on the inside of your arteries is actually a miracle. It's the physical friction of blood rubbing against the endothelial lining. This friction triggers the production of, you guessed it, nitric oxide. Movement is the on switch for the natural gas that relaxes your pipes. Think back to the analogy I mentioned earlier. Imagine your circulatory system as a long, crowded hallway in a theater. People, your blood cells, are packed in tight, shoulder to shoulder. They are pushing against the walls. The pressure is high. People are getting agitated. When you engage in Zone 2 movement, your body sends a signal to the end of that hallway. Open the double doors. Suddenly, the peripheral blood vessels in your legs and arms, the ones that are usually constricted, open wide. The blood has somewhere to go. It rushes into the large muscle groups of your thighs and glutes. The crowd in the hallway thins out. Suddenly, the pressure against the walls of the hallway drops instantly. This is why, if you check your blood pressure 30 minutes after a brisk walk, it will often be 10 to 15 points lower than before you started. You haven't just burned calories, you have physically changed the diameter of your pipes. Here is a tip that most people don't get until they see a specialist. The best time to move is 15 to 20 minutes after your largest meal. Why? Because when you eat, your blood sugar rises. To handle that sugar, your body releases insulin. In many seniors, insulin resistance causes the blood vessels to stiffen. By taking a short, brisk walk after dinner, your muscles mop up that sugar before it can cause a spike. You are killing 2 birds with 1 stone, managing your blood sugar and lowering your blood pressure simultaneously. A 10-minute walk after dinner is more effective for your cardiovascular health than an hour-long session once a week on Sundays. It's about the frequency of the signal you are sending to your arteries. I don't want you to start with an hour. I want you to start with 8 minutes. Why 8? Because anyone can do 8 minutes. It's short enough that your knees won't complain, but long enough to trigger that nitric oxide release. Days 1 to 3. Find a flat surface. Walk for 4 minutes away from your house and 4 minutes back. That's it. But here's the catch. You must walk fast enough that you feel your heart beating, but not so fast that you can't sing a song or talk to a neighbor. Days 4 to 6. We increase to 12 minutes. 6 minutes out, 6 minutes back. Day 7. The 15-minute discovery walk. By the end of the week, you've proven to your nervous system that movement is safe. From there, we add just 2 minutes every few days until you hit that golden target of 30 minutes a day. If you do this, you are performing a daily flushing of your system. You are clearing out the stagnant pressure and teaching your heart that it doesn't have to work so hard. Sometimes life happens. It's raining or you're busy with the family. For those days, I want to teach you the Nitric Oxide Dump. It's a 3-minute routine you can do in your living room, even while watching the news. 1. Squats, using a chair. Sit down in a sturdy chair and stand back up. Do this 10 times. Your thighs are your body's largest blood reservoirs. Engaging them opens the floodgates. 2. Arm swings. Reach for the ceiling and then swing your arms down past your hips. This opens the vessels in your upper body. 3. Calf raises. Hold on to the kitchen counter and rise up on your toes. Your calves are often called your second heart because they help pump blood back up against gravity. Doing these 3 movements for just 3 minutes total triggers a systemic release of dilating gases. It's like a reset button for your pressure. Now I hear you. Doctor, my hips are bone on bone, or I have peripheral neuropathy. If walking isn't an option, the principle remains the same. Find the movement you can do without pain. Water aerobics is the holy grail for seniors. The water pressure actually helps your veins return blood to your heart, and the buoyancy protects your joints. Seated pedaling while you watch your favorite show. Even deep diaphragmatic breathing, which we will cover in the next section, acts as a physical pump for your lymphatic and circulatory systems. The goal isn't to become an athlete. The goal is to avoid being sedentary. Stagnant blood is high-pressure blood. Moving blood is healthy blood. But movement is only half of the physical equation. You can walk 5 miles a day, but if your nervous system is stuck in a state of high alert, your vessels will stay constricted like a clenched fist. In the next section, we're going to talk about the nervous system reset. I'm going to show you why your internal thermostat might be set to high stress without you even realizing it, and how we can use your breath to manually override your brain's pressure sensors. Let's talk about white coat syndrome and beyond. Have you ever noticed your pressure is higher at the clinic than at home? That's your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response. Many seniors are stuck in fight mode 24/7. Maybe it's worrying about the grandkids, the economy, or your own health. This chronic stress keeps your arteries constricted. We are going to practice a technique called resonant breathing. By breathing at a rate of 6 breaths per minute, you can actually stimulate the vagus nerve. This is like hitting the reset button on your internal pressure gauge. We'll do this together for the next 5 minutes. I want to be very clear. I am a doctor, but I am not your doctor. Do not throw your pills away today. That is dangerous. Instead, I want you to become a data collector. Start a log. Record your morning and evening numbers. When you go to your doctor with a month of 118/78 readings, that is your leverage. You say, "Doctor, my lifestyle changes are working. Can we discuss a trial reduction in my dosage?" Most doctors are thrilled to hear this. They want you off the meds as much as you do, but they need the data to prove you're safe. You've stayed with me this long, which tells me you're serious. You aren't just a passive patient. You're the CEO of your own health. Reversing hypertension isn't about one magic food or one miracle pill. It's about the 100 small choices you make every day. You have the power to change your story. I'll see you in the next video.